I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Tuesday, December the 22nd, 2015. Leaders of terror group Hezbollah have promised to retaliate against Israel for the death of notorious terrorist Samir Kuntar. In a televised speech, Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah today said that Israel was responsible for Kuntar's death and swore revenge. Kuntar was one of 9 killed in an airstrike Saturday night in Syria, which Hezbollah claims was carried out by Israel's Air Force, though Israel has not commented on those claims. Back in 1979, when Kuntar was just 16, he and 3 other terrorists infiltrated Israel on a rubber boat from Lebanon, coming ashore in Nahariya, then shot dead Israeli police officer Eliyahu Shachar and broke into the apartment of the Haran family, taking the father Dani and his 4-year-old daughter Einat hostage, then later murdering them. The mother of the family, Smadar, hid with their 2-year-old daughter Yael, who was accidentally smothered to death when the mother tried to cover the sounds of the baby crying, so as not to give away their hiding place. Kuntar went to prison in Israel for the murders and was released in 2008 in an exchange with Hezbollah, and continued his terrorist activities and reportedly was planning attacks against Israel from Syria at the time of the airstrike. Reuters reports that in a telephone conversation today, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Russian President Vladimir Putin agreed to coordinate efforts to fight terrorism in the Middle East. The Kremlin was quoted as saying that the 2 leaders specifically addressed the situation in Syria and the fight against the Islamic State and other extremist groups that are active there. Meanwhile, the president of Ukraine, Petro Poroshenko, arrived in Israel today. He was welcomed with a ceremony that included a military honor guard and military band. The Ukrainian leader is on a 2-day state visit to the country. He met this morning with Israeli President Reuven Rivlin and then with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The Times of Israel reports that Israeli security forces and officials from its civil administration were investigating what they suspect is a hate crime committed by Jewish extremists. It occurred early this morning when a Palestinian family was attacked with smoke grenades thrown into their home in Beit Ilu near Ramallah in the West Bank. The family was able to get out of the home and there were no injuries. Hateful graffiti, including the words revenge, were found spray painted on a nearby wall, likely referring to those Jewish extremists who are being held by Israel on suspicion of their role in the deadly July 31st arson attack in the Palestinian village of Duma that killed 3 members of the Dawabshe family. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu today, meanwhile, addressed accusations that the suspects in the Duma terror attack were being treated unlawfully by Israel's security agency, the Shin Bet, alleging the use of torture, among other claims. Netanyahu stated in response that the Shin Bet's activities are carried out in accordance with the law and under close supervision. He said, "We are a state ruled by law. There is Arab terror that we are taking care of, that we are fighting day and night on every front. But unfortunately," he said, "from time to time there is also terror activity carried out by Jews, and the Shin Bet is taking care of them as well. We will not accept terror from any side." Meanwhile, the Times of Israel also reports that the only survivor of the Duma attack, 5-year-old Ahmad Dawabshe, has begun to walk again after months of intensive treatment at Tel HaShomer Hospital in Tel Aviv, where he remains hospitalized. The Jerusalem municipality has started installing extra security measures in the city in the wake of recent terror attacks there. Steel pillars have been placed at high-risk locations at bus stops throughout the city, at about 300 of them, to act as barriers in the event of car rammings, which the city has seen several of as of late. A group of Jewish parliamentarians from around the world met yesterday with members of Israel's Knesset and other senior Israeli officials at the Knesset in Jerusalem, part of the International Council of Jewish Parliamentarians, held under the auspices of the World Jewish Congress. The delegates were led by Council Chairman Congressman Elliot Engel. Among those they met with were opposition leader Isaac Herzog, Knesset member Yair Lapid, and Minister of Education and Diaspora Affairs Naftali Bennett. Also with former Israeli ambassador to the U.S. and current Knesset member Michael Oren, who briefed the group on a range of issues, including the recent terror attacks in Israel and the European Union's recent decision to label products made over the Green Line. The meetings concluded with a tribute to former Canadian Justice Minister and outgoing chairman of the Council, Irwin Cotler, who was presented with a gift of appreciation by Congressman Engel for Cotler's years of service. And looking now at our programming for tonight, Tuesday, December the 22nd on JBS. At 7 o'clock, take part in the 2015 Gala celebration of the Zionist Organization of America, featuring actor John Voight, ZOA President Mort Klein, Israel's ambassador to the U.S. Ron Dermer, and former Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann. Followed at 10 by clinical psychologist and author Dr. Leonard Felder, who talks about when difficult relatives happen to good people at the 4th annual Saul Cohen Jewish Family Service lecture from the Ferguson Library in Stamford. And coming up right after this newscast tonight at 6:30, Canada's former Foreign Minister, the Honorable John Baird, talks about his personal commitment to the State of Israel and how he helped to influence Canada's pro-Israel stand. That is from the 2015 Jewish Federation of North America's General Assembly in Washington. And that's the JBS News Update for Tuesday, December the 22nd, 2015. I'm Teisha Bader.